is going on, Washington football fans? Another video coming out from you, the Washington Football Report. This is JD. Let's dive into this. So we're going to give this is a very, very, very early divisional prediction for the NFC, just the NFC overall. Every division in the NFC. I'll do ours last for Washington. I think most of you know where it's going to go. Before I get started on that, two things. Let me take a quick swig of my drink. Second, hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment what you think of all the opinions I'm about to put forth, and follow me on Twitter. It's WFT Washington Football Team Report, at WFT Report, all capital on the WFT part. All right, so diving into this, we'll start with the NFC West and work our way all the way to the NFC East. NFC West. NFC West consists of four teams: the Rams, the Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals, and the 49ers. This is probably the best division in football. You have four teams. Any one of these teams could literally win the division by, just one of the other teams having one injury or something like that. They're gonna murder each other. They're gonna just chew each other apart all season. And there's going to be one team emerging as, obviously the division winner. But you can literally get three playoff teams out of this division. It's that good this year. So, actually, you can probably get four if you think about it, because you have the division winner and there's three wild cards now. You have four divisions. You can literally get all four. I don't think it's going to happen because you got to play each other a lot, unless each team just goes roughshod over the league and they don't lose outside of their division. That's the only way that could possibly happen. But I guess it's possible. But I don't think that's the case. Who I think will win the division is the Rams. The Rams have been a solid team. They were a playoff team last year. They're a solid team. They got a really good defense. They have a pretty good offense. They had a pretty good offense with Jared Goff, and then they upgraded Jared Goff. They moved on to Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's a much better quarterback than Jared Goff. Much better talent. He's never had any talent. With the talent that he has and the coach in Sean McVay, the offensive genius that he is, I just see this team being much better offensively than they were last year. Their defense was already pretty much lights out. So there's a lot of things that point to why this team's going to be good. And they're also probably the best coached in the division. And all around, you don't really look at their roster and see any holes. They don't have a hole in the secondary. Their defensive line's great. Their offensive line's pretty good. The biggest hole they had was quarterback, and I think they really just fixed that problem, getting Matt Stafford. So, second place in the division, we'll go to the Seahawks. It's going to be close between the Seahawks and the third place team. Seahawks, I just think Russell Wilson compensates for a lot of your deficiencies with his ability to scramble. He did kind of show some flaws last year, but I think they've addressed them in the offseason. They get the running game established. It's going to help them a lot. I think having guys hurt consistently is what's messing with Russell Wilson. But Pete Carroll is a pretty good coach, and I think he's going to fix at least address the problem. He's addressed the problems that they've had. Maybe not the best solutions, but they're solutions nonetheless. So going forward, I'm gonna keep an eye on that. But I think they'll be a playoff team for sure. We're not gonna win the division though. Arizona Cardinals will come in third. And really, it's like if one wins 10 wins, the other one's going to win 9. I think Arizona is neck and neck with Seattle. They might actually be better than Seattle. They're just not as experienced. And that's where I think Pete Carroll's going to have the edge. I actually think one of the most talented rosters in the league is the Arizona Cardinals. They have a lot of good talent across the board. Defensively, offensively, they've added veterans. And a veteran receiver and Hopkins last year, and veteran defensive lineman, and J.J. Watt this year. So there's a lot of things to be optimistic about for Cardinals. And really what's going to come down to is the ascension of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is going to be the linchpin in this. If he does well, this team could very well compete for the division, maybe even further. But that's what's come down to. I think he will progress. He's progressed every year for the most part. Last year, he looked really good early, and then he regressed mid-season. Then he ended the season kind of strong. But it ended up costing the playoffs because of the mid-season slump he got into. 49ers. I'm taking a big gamble on this because 49ers are pretty well coached. when it comes to at least the offensive coordinating side. Kyle Shanahan does a great job of putting guys in position to be successful. He finds angles for good run attack. The problem with them is two things. One, they created their own QB controversy. Jimmy Garoppolo literally got you to the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, he threw over 300 passing yards, like 2 touchdowns, and did everything he could to win the game. And you somehow have just decided that you need to move on from that. How do you move on? How do you have someone that gets you Super Bowl and you only lost because your defense folded in the fourth quarter? For the most part, you only lost because your defense folded in the fourth quarter. You can blame them for that one pass, but the defense had to give up a lot of points up to that for that pass to matter that much. And you just bail on them and get another quarterback. So you're going to have a quarterback who's not appreciated starting the season. You have a quarterback who's not good. I'm sorry, I will die on this hill, and I believe I'm right on this. Kyler Murray, or not Kyler Murray, Trey Lance will be a bust. He's going to bust, and it's gonna hurt 49ers really bad. I have 49er fans that are friends, and I've apologized. I'm like, dude, but he's going to be a bust. He had issues throwing 200 passing yards in college. You're not going to be able to throw 200 passing yards in the pros, especially in this division. This division is going to eat him apart. You think Aaron Darnold's gonna? You think either of these defenses are gonna just let him like run all over the place? No. He played Division III talent. He couldn't go throw for over 200 yards in a majority of his games. Oh, but he can run. I ain't gonna fly in the NFL. It might work for a season. Like he might have a good rookie season because they don't have any game film on him. As soon as they figure it out, they're gonna put it to him. I promise you. But I have a feeling midway through the season, Jimmy Garoppolo is either going to get hurt or the team's going to be losing because Jimmy's not trying hard or he's just not performing well. They're going to bench him, go with the rookie, and their offense can completely change mid-season, and it's going to affect them poorly. I mean, they did pretty good last year with all the stuff happening, but I'm sorry. I think they've created their own inner turmoil. They should have traded Jimmy G, got a quarterback to just play for a year if you wanted him to progress, Trey Lance. But now you created a QB. You got QB who's there, who's already getting paid to be there, a lot of money, and you've already replaced him. So what's his incentive to play well? He's going to play himself out of his contract, or out of the down. Someone's going to trade for him, or he'll get cut and get all the money anyway. So all those things are going to be entwined in this, and on top of that, you got a lot of guys coming off injury. Yes, could they be good? Sure, but there's so many guys coming off injury. I don't know if they're even going to be able to put a healthy, good team on the field. So I don't know. That situation could go way nuclear or go really good or really bad. Okay, it can go really good or really bad. I don't know which way it's going to go, but there's my prediction for that division. The next division I'll go with is the NFC North, which consists of the Green Bay Packers, Lions, Bears, and the Vikings. This division really is hampered on one player. If one player is playing, that team's probably going to win the division. If he's not, another team will win the division. If Aaron Rodgers plays for Green Bay, they will win the division this year. Hands down, they will. If Aaron Rodgers plays for Green Bay, they'll win the division. If they don't have him and they start Jordan Love, they're not winning the division. And I hate to say it because I really don't like this quarterback, but I think the Vikings are going to be the team that's going to step in place. I don't think the Vikings are good enough to make a Super Bowl run. I still don't think that. And I don't like Kirk Cousins. I think my opinion on that's been very well established. But I think Kirk Cousins is better than Jordan Love. I think the overall team around him, I don't think it's better than. I think Green Bay actually has a very solid roster that they've put around Aaron Rodgers. They didn't do it the way he should have, but they've done it, gradually done it. But the Vikings have a pretty solid roster as well. They have a pretty decent coach. So I think there's a lot of good things to look at with Kirk and the Minnesota Vikings. I think there's a lot of good things to look at with it. So yeah. And so that is if he doesn't play. If he does play, I think the Vikings come in second. But I think Aaron Rodgers is that important to the team that if he doesn't play, they will come in third in this division. I think the Bears will get second. The Bears have some solid parts of that team so far, and they finally got a quarterback in Justin Fields. And I think Justin Fields was actually the perfect quarterback that they've needed. They got Trubisky. They needed to bounce back and get a better, like a different version of a quarterback, a different type of quarterback, a different kind of animal in there. And I think they got what they needed with him. I personally like Justin Fields. I wouldn't want him on my team. But I think the way that the Bears play and what he brings to the table, he can be the best option for them. So I think they can win I think they'll get second. If the Green Bay Packers don't have Aaron Rodgers, they're going to come in third. They're going to come in third in this division. Their roster's solid, but I mean Jordan Love. I don't think you're. This is what I don't understand. You can't sit there and say that, oh, he can just step in and fill the shoes of Aaron Rodgers. No, it's not. Like, Green Bay is one of the most lucky franchises ever. You went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. You transitioned from franchise quarterback Hall of Famer, 3-time MVP, Super Bowl winner, to franchise Super Bowl winning 3-time MVP quarterback. Like, bam, bam. Like, you're the luckiest franchise ever. No one gets that. No one gets that. Like, that doesn't happen to anyone. Washington hasn't had a real franchise quarterback in years. Like back to, like, Sonny Jurgensen days. Like, really, you can say Theismann if you want. You can say Ripken. They're not. They weren't. They were never the elite of the elite in the league anyway. Okay? They were never, like, the elite, the upper echelon of the league, regardless of that. They weren't. If you're trying to think they were, you're just wrong. Okay? But yeah, they went from one to the other, and they're just gonna spit in the face of that and go, "Oh, Jordan Love, he's our third franchise winning 3-time MVP." I don't think that's the case. I wasn't highly. I didn't highly rate him when he came out to begin with. I think he would have been a project for a couple of years, but now it's just not a good situation. And then the last in the division is the Lions. The Lions have Jared. They're in a rebuilding phase, but even if they don't like Jared Goff, like next year they can cut him, and save themselves some money, and they have a lot of draft picks. So they're gonna suck this year, but they're gonna suck, and then they're gonna get a lot of the return on investment for having one bad season. They got a lot of picks over the next few years from the Rams for Matthew Stafford. So yeah, I think they're gonna come in fourth. NFC South. NFC South is the Panthers, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, and the Saints. This division last year was a lot of very competitive division. Every one of these teams is decent in some way, shape, or form, and you can make an argument for how they can win the division. But I think Buccaneers are going to run away with this division. Last year, the Saints won the division, but they kind of backed into the playoffs. Drew Brees was just kind of on, his arm was like almost shot by the end of the season. Alvin Kamara, no pun intended, carried that team. Buccaneers, I just think at the end of the season are firing all cylinders. I think they'll win the division. I think it's going to be kind of the opposite of what happened last year. Last year, it took them a while to get going because of COVID. They didn't have a lot of offseason time to get chemistry. And they kind of started off a little rocky. They still won some games, but they started off a little rocky. And then at the end of the season, they hit their stride. I think it's going to start off opposite this year. You don't want to hit your stride mid-season. You want to hit your stride at the end of the season, which is what the Buccaneers did. And I think it's going to happen like that this year. I think they're going to go like 13-4, and they're going to hit their stride beginning to mid-season. And then later in the season, they're going to have injuries. They're going to have things. Unless Bruce Arians is like a shrewd operator and he finds a way to get people games off for resting and relaxation and to keep their bodies fresh for the playoffs. We'll see. Bruce Arians has never been in a situation where he's consistently got to manage those things. So he's kind of new to it. He's not Bill Belichick is in a situation where he's done that for years. He's maintained the attrition that is the NFL season to make sure he has a good enough football team by the time the playoffs start. He's always maintained that. He's always done that. Buccaneers got to learn how to do that. Bruce Arians has to learn how to do that. And we'll see if he does. For all I know, he's going to play everyone. He's going to do like Tom Thibodeau does in basketball, which just plays all of his starters like every minute and has like a 6-man rotation or something. he needs to make sure they rest. Is the best way to put it. Second place in this division, and it's going to be a surprise to you. I think it's going to be the Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to come in second place in this division. They traded for Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's going to come in and he's going to just do so good with this team compared to what he has been. Not like he's not going to be a Pro Bowler, but I do think he is going to come in and with Chris McCaffrey, with what's his name, Robbie Anderson. And I think they add another receiver somewhere in there. I just think they've given him a lot of like tools. They have a pretty good offensive line. The only thing they don't have is a great defense. But I think they have a lot of tools, a good running game, better coach. He's just going into a much better situation. This is why I wanted Sam Darnold in the Birdie and Gold. I thought you put him in a situation. Think about it. Let's just think about this for a second. I know I'm talking to Washington fans here. If you're watching this, you're not a Washington fan. Sorry, but this is the Washington Football Report. Think about it. What if we have Sam Darnold right now, Washington, a good young quarterback, and he has all the weapons we have, instead of us having Ryan Fitzpatrick? That was my thought process. Trade for Sam Darnold. Give up something in, like, not this year's draft, obviously. We need to build a team. Next year's draft, so that and something, an okay pick, and we can get Sam Darnold in our building. And he can be our quarterback. I think he can run the room very well. I think he's a much better quarterback than he's been portrayed as. But I think because of that and how well the team is managed and coached, I think those are going to be the factors that dictate why the Panthers will come in second in this division. Third will be the Saints. It's not that I don't think the Saints are good. They have one of the best running backs that can run and catch the ball in the backfield. And Alvin Kamara. They still have good talent. The problem is I don't trust Jameis Winston. I don't trust him at all. If he's learned some things from Drew Brees, like, maybe it could be exciting because he can throw the football. He can throw a lot of touchdowns. He can throw a lot of interceptions. But if you learn some things from Drew Brees and he really was like a sponge and just absorbed all the knowledge that Drew Brees has, maybe he could turn around. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't have that faith. I think he'll score points, and I think he'll put up touchdowns, but he'll also throw interceptions. And if they start Taysom Hill, I think that's even worse situation, because I don't think Taysom Hill, whenever he played, he didn't find a lot of his stars. He was never looking for. I know fantasy wise, whenever Taysom Hill started, my team sucked. My team went down because he wasn't looking for Kamara. I had Kamara on my fantasy team. I know he wasn't looking. He was just pretty much looking for Michael Thomas the entire time he played. I'm taking a drink. Hold on one second. Yeah. Moving on to the Falcons, I think they'll come in fourth. And it's not because I think they're bad. I just don't think that they've done enough things to fix their problems. Their offensive line's garbage. They don't have a solid running game. Matt Ryan is a good quarterback, but they really should have tried their best to trade him, get assets for him. He's on his last few years of his deal, last few years of him being able to play. And instead of building an offensive line and whatnot, you trade away his best weapon in Julio Jones. And you also, instead of building an offensive line to protect him, you decided to draft a very talented, I'm not going to say he's not talented, tight end. I don't understand the logic there. I mean, you've been able to scoring points has not been your problem. Atlanta's problem has not been that they haven't been able to score points. Okay? Their problem is they can't play defense. They can't hold on to leads. They have bad leadership. They don't know how to grind down a win with the running game. None of those things are you can attribute to the Atlanta Falcons, and I don't think they've done a lot in the offseason to address that. I don't think they've added enough weapons. I mean, if you're gonna go with let's just outscore teams, you gotta have some semblance of a defense. It's just the way it is. I mean, I don't make the rules for football. That's the way football works. You gotta be able to stop teams from scoring. I think Falcons will score a lot. I just don't think they'll stop anyone. I don't think there's anyone out there they're gonna stop. They're gonna be able to stop from scoring, and they're gonna get shootouts. But they're gonna have some teams like Washington that'll be able to hold them like 20 points, and they won't be able to stop anyone from scoring. And then the last division is the Washington Football Team's division, the NFC East, and I think Washington wins it. I think Washington wins it by far. I think they run away with this division. We have the best defense by far. maybe even in the league, but we definitely have the best defense in the division. I think we've added so many offensive weapons. Last year we won the division, and we had like the 31st ranked offense. Okay, out of 32 teams, we had the 31st ranked. It's like second worst offense. Okay, with Antonio Brown being able to run the football the way he runs the football. Or Antonio Gibson, I'm sorry, Antonio Gibson, not Antonio Brown. Being able to run the football the way he runs the football. Should be fun there. Should be very good there, actually. We have a good running game with him, McKissick, and I actually think Jordan Patterson will make the team. So that's where I think the running game is going to go first. The offensive line's top 10, top 5. It depends on which source you look at, but the lowest they have us ranked is like the 11th, which is not bad. I'd rather be the 11th best offensive line than the 31st. We have a good offensive line. We have good weapons that we've added. The defense got better. It added Jamin Davis. It added a better corner. It added, actually, I think we drafted a good corner too in that process as well. So there's a lot of things that Washington's done to better their situation when it comes to their team. Better their offensive line. They bettered their receiving weapons. They bettered, and the receiving weapons, they've added so many. Even drafted one. They have, their 5th best receiver this year will be our 2nd best receiver from last year. That's how much they've added. And then they've added an extra tight end. That's only going to help. It's not going to hurt Washington, so it's going to help Washington. All these things. There's so much things that Washington's done. And then, like I said, they've just enhanced their defense. They have Matt Ioannidis coming back. I don't think people understand how much of a beast he is. Receivers, we may even have Kelvin Harmon come back better than he was before. There's just so many things that Washington is doing that they've added and improved over on their team. And they won the division last year, and then you have all these improvements. And not to mention quarterback situation. You can say what you want about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I tell you, the last 16 games, he's pretty much got over 40,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. He's run for, I think, 400 yards. He knows how to play. He knows how to win, and I think it's the best combination of talent he's had in a long time. And he has a defense that can kind of back him up a little bit. And not to mention, I actually think that we have the best backup in the league right now, Taylor Heinicke. I think Taylor Heinicke, he's getting this year to get his feet under him, and going forward he'll be good. But if he has to play this year, I think we'll be fine. He did well last year with the talent we had. It was kind of a sneak attack, but also that was against a very good defense. If we were playing a bad team and that happened, you can take it with a grain of salt. But they played a very solid defense that ended up shutting down the Super Bowl winners. So we did that against a good defense. Even though they didn't have any film on them, they're still a good defensive unit that he did pretty well against. Second in the division, we'll go to the Giants. The Giants are going to get second place in this division. And they might even make the playoffs. They're probably going to make the playoffs. The Giants last year, a lot of people slept on them. I'm not one of those people. They lost 7 games by less than a point. By like 2 points or less. And they barely beat us. We should have beat them twice last year. Some dumb coaching decisions, and I'll leave it at that. And I'll just leave it at that. And also Kyle Allen fumbles and they return for a touchdown when we're have all the momentum and we're just rolling. But yeah. So and I would say that they've added. I'm not gonna say they added more stuff than Washington has. They have definitely added some good weapons. At Kenny Galladay. They drafted Kenny Kadarius Leonard or Tony. Kadarius Toney, I think that's his name, from Florida. Very fast receiver. The defense, they've added some pieces that are okay pieces, but I think some people are overvaluing some of the pieces they added, and I'm not trying to be a hater, but I can't remember the cornerback's name. I think he played for the Titans, so they basically owed him $23 million for the next 2 years, and then the Giants paid him so much more than what they would have to pay him. They cut him and they signed him. I can't remember his name right now. But I think his last name is Jackson. I can't remember his first name. But I think they've done some things to be a better team this year, and if they learn to close some games, they're going to be tough because the handful of games, like I said, they lost either on the last play or a couple points. and they still ended up being a pretty decent team. They almost won the division if it wasn't for the Eagles kind of not even trying the second half against us. So third place will be Dallas. I think Dallas and Giants will be close. I think Dallas has done better things to get better. I just don't think you have the right guy at the helm running the team. That's the bigger problem right now. I think Mike McCarthy's not a good coach. I think now that I've watched it, I think he had a good defensive coordinator, and he had Aaron Rodgers, now won him Super Bowl. I don't think he's that good a coach. I mean, to be fair, he did lose Dak, and he still won 6 games last year. So what do I know? I just think that's part of it. Our division's kind of bad. So there's like 3 games they won there because they beat the Giants once and then the Eagles twice, and they played some other teams and they beat some other teams. So there's your other 3 wins. I guess that makes sense. But I just don't see this being a situation where Dallas. Everyone's raving that Dak Prescott's back, got a big contract. Okay, so a couple things about that contract. That contract's going to suck up so much cap space that here soon they're just not going to be able to repay or to re-sign their good offensive line. They have good weapons, but their defense can't stop me from scoring. So, I mean, they had Dan Quinn, and they drafted some linebackers. So here's the odd thing about what they drafted. They drafted players that I was trying to get Washington draft. Micah Parsons and then Jabril Cox at linebacker. Those are the 2 players that I wanted Washington to draft, so we had like a good young linebacking core along with Cole Holcomb. But it's funny. But and then they signed a bunch of players that are huge question marks. One's coming off an Achilles tear, one's coming off an ACL injury. So I don't think they've actually added enough. I mean, they got Dak Prescott re-signed, so that's good off-season acquisition if you want to look at it that way. But other than that, they really didn't have that big, like really good player that they drafted or that they signed and to like you really like an impact player. They didn't really do that. Team's about the same. The only thing they're doing is they changed the defensive coordinator, so that changed a little bit, and then everything else changes a little bit, but not enough that I think that it's going to really make them a significantly better player. I mean, Dak does make them better, but they're not going to be able to stop anyone, and I just don't think Dak, coming off a broken fibula, is going to be able to do, or tibula or whatever it was, as much. I don't think he's going to be able to carry this franchise. I think he's good. I think he's solid, but I don't think he's going to be able to carry this franchise. And then last in the division, obviously, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Not that the Eagles are in kind of a rebuild. I don't trust Jalen Hurts. He didn't exactly have the greatest numbers last year. He's mobile. The offensive line for the Eagles is not very good. They've kind of added some weapons, but the Eagles' problems the last few years is they can't keep the weapons healthy. I do like their running. They have 2 good running backs now. Sanders and I think Scott's the other one. Those 2 are solid running backs. I don't think as a team you could be upset having those 2 as your 1-2 punch tandem at the running back position. Tight end, they still have what's his name? Zach Ertz. I have a feeling though that Zach Ertz is going to get traded because they still have Dallas Goedert. And yeah, so and that defense wasn't very good last year to begin with, and they have a new coach. There's a new system in place. There's just a lot of inner turmoil going on with that team. They did draft a pretty good receiver, but I have a feeling Devontae Smith is not going to last long in the NFL. You got to be big enough to take hits, and that guy's small. That guy's very small weight-wise. He's got some height and he's got some ability. Don't get me wrong. But there's not rules in the league to protect you from getting hit when you have the ball. And unless you're quarterback, I guess. And he's going to get some hits, and he's going to get some big hits. And I don't think his little body, or his skinny body with a very low muscle tone, is going to be able to handle that. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be dead wrong. He could light it up. But also, I know how the NFL is. And you got to be able to take some hits. And I don't know. I just don't know. We'll see. So, yeah, that's pretty much our video. So, to recap, I have the 4 division winners being the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Vikings or Packers, depends on if Aaron Rodgers plays, and then the Washington football team. Well, thank everyone for watching. This is the Washington Football Report. Hail to the Redskins. See ya.